Good evening to our Semester at Sea community. Thank you for joining us for this latest installment of our Wavelengths Alumni series. This online series highlights the talents of our Semester at Sea alumni around the world. And we feature an alum from a different industry or career path every Wednesday or every other Wednesday at 5 o'clock Mountain Time on our official Semester at Sea Facebook page. My name is Nancy Teege. I live in San Diego County, and I first sailed with Semester at Sea as a lifelong learner in fall 10. I had a fantastic voyage, made all the more special because the Archbishop Desmond Tutu was on our voyage for the entire time. And then I got hooked. So in 2013, I did an enrichment voyage to the Baltic. And about that time, I was invited to join the Lifelong Learner Council of the Alumni Association. And that's around the time that I met Barb and Mike Allison, who were very involved with the parent council as part of the Alumni Association. Then summer 14, I did a partial voyage, which is now called the Spotlight Voyage. And during that time, I took a social entrepreneur class where I met Fred Benet. And then most recently, I sailed on spring 19 and was able to return to Ghana, where I had been on my fall 10 voyage. But this time, I was able to travel with a field program up to the village of Sanase. I got to go to Fred's school, and I even got to teach a class to his first graders, which was reading them a book about gingerbread Fred. So today I'm here with the co-founders of the GodFreds Foundation. And before I have them introduce themselves, I would like to just read you the mission statement of the GodFreds Foundation, which is to build and operate a low-cost, sustainable private school, which promotes a positive learning environment using innovative teaching methods while maintaining local traditions and following mandated curriculum. Our belief is that this model will serve as an example of a new way of educating children in rural Ghana and will help prepare them for success on their national exams, which are so important in determining their future educational and career opportunities. So I would now like to have you all introduce yourselves. Tell us your name, where you're from, when you sailed on Semester at Sea, and where you live now, and what currently is sort of important and going on in your life. So let's start with Barb and Mike.
Okay, I'm Barbara Allison, and I grew up in La Cañada, California. I attended the University of Redlands, also in California, which is where I met my husband, Mike. We've been married almost 37 years, have 4 children, 4 grown children. Our youngest sailed in summer 2011. We went on a parents trip with him while he was on his voyage and got cooked on the program. It doesn't take much. Then we sailed an enrichment voyage to South America in 2012. We were going to go just the 2 of us, but Andrew would not let us leave him behind. And so it was the 3 of us. And then I sailed myself alone on a full voyage in spring of 2013. And then I got back for about 3 weeks and our entire family left on another enrichment voyage to Europe and Scandinavia about 3 weeks after I got home. Yeah, the entire family. I was also very lucky to sail with Archbishop Tutu on my full voyage for almost the entire voyage, which was really obviously special. Now we live in Laverne, California. And besides doing fundraising for our foundation and trying to keep our Facebook page updated, basically I have a new grandson and my life is kind of revolved around him right now. And that's where I am. I mean, we were, until COVID, I was traveling to Ghana maybe 3 times a year. So that, was really disappointing because, keeping in touch with the kids and everybody there makes it so special, but we hope to get back really soon.
Yeah. And Mike?
And I am Mike Allison, and I will not repeat some of the things that have already been said, other than to let my wife know we have already been married 37 years and 38 is coming up.
Oh, boy.
I won't let her live that down
Nah,
for a
you
while.
won't.
But one thing I had a remembrance when we were on Parents Council. We were in Halifax, actually. At that time, Parents Council was very involved in Bon Voyage and welcome home receptions. The ship was leaving that voyage from Halifax. And still remember, we, for some reason, were able to get on the ship right before it was going to leave. And Barbara commented to me about just the energy she felt when we were visiting with faculty and staff and students and lifelong learners. And that was when she knew she wanted to go. And when she approached me with the idea that she would go, because she went independently of me. I'm a tax accountant. And so January to April, I'm kind of
He's
not
not
here.
here.
So I figured, well, Barb doesn't need to be here either. We have grown children and we made it work. So that's something I remember. And I knew in my mind, we'd raised our children and Barb was looking for that next thing. And I had a feeling that she would find it. I didn't realize. We'll talk in a little bit that she kind of went like way beyond finding it. But anyway, I'm a tax accountant, as I mentioned. I work in Covina, which is close by. I am the treasurer of the GodFreds Foundation. So my fortunately professional background allowed for the formation of our corporation, applying for the nonprofit status, which allows donors to give and receive a tax deduction or their employer to match their donation. It's important that the organization is a registered 501c3. So some of my talents have been put to work towards building our foundation.
Yeah, good. Okay, thank you. And Fred?
Hi, everyone. My name is Frederick Benne, and I'm from Ghana, and I sailed on the 2014 summer voyage, the Explorer. I think that was the last voyage for the Explorer. So go to all the Explorer sailors. So I'm currently back home in Ghana, working at the school, as Barbara and Mike has talked about. I also spend most of my time working with a health tech company, digitizing hospitals in Ghana. So currently, I sort of balance both, managing the school and at the same time in the health industry. So yeah, that's what keeps me busy.
Yeah, I'll say. Okay. All right. Thank you for your introductions. Okay, I'd like to start with Barb. Could you please tell us the story of how you met Fred? And then additionally, what inspired you to create this foundation together?
Sure. I'll keep it as brief as I can because I could tell this story for hours and we all know that. So when I was sailing on my voyage, ahead of time, I was looking for what I would do in each country. And Ghana was, on my list. And so I started looking on Facebook and seeing what other students had done in Ghana. And the same name kept appearing over and over and over. Fred Benne, Can Do Land Tours, best thing I've done my entire voyage. Basically don't miss out. You need to do this. So I contacted Fred on Facebook and signed up for his homestay in the village of Sanase, where he grew up. It's a very small farming village. I think it was maybe 3 nights, 4 days. I was really nervous because I had no idea what I was in for. So part of the homestay was visiting schools and seeing what their education looked like and how they were educated and in what kind of conditions. And it was actually very horrifying to me. I could never have imagined what I saw. And all I could think about was our kids back here and how many opportunities they have because they grew up here, they were born here. And I met so many smart kids in Ghana that I just thought, these kids are so smart, but they just don't have any opportunity. So they'll probably just continue, living the cycle of poverty in this small village. During my time there, I think Fred, explained to me that he would love to someday build a school there and give the kids in Sanase a chance to compete with other kids who are raised in big cities. And, it caught my heart. And Fred and I just developed a very special friendship. And as I was leaving Ghana, he mentioned to me that he had been recruited by a school in London, a business school. And I guess in my mind, I thought, you know what, maybe the best thing right now is to help Fred get his education. And then I just saw that he was like somebody who was going to just do amazing things, that there was no stopping him. He was gonna, follow through. And so anyway, I told him, he said he wasn't going to even apply to the school because if he got accepted, there was no way he could pay for tuition, housing, any of those things. So I said, well, why don't you apply? And if you get accepted, we will pay for your education. Because I just knew if he got educated that, the next step would just happen, that he'd be able to help all these kids in Sanase. And so anyway, that's kind of where my part ends, I think. That was the beginning.
That was the beginning.
That was the beginning.
Mhm.
And
She did mention she didn't have a job at that point. As far as
and I just had this feeling leaving Ghana. There was something just special that really drew me in. And when I left and said goodbye to Fred, there was just no question in my mind that I was going to be back. I just, it was just an instinct that,
Came true. Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. And then what, we'll come back to this. So Fred, what is the GodFreds Foundation? And can you explain a little bit about the name of the foundation?
Yeah.
And then also, I think everyone, as this conversation goes along, would love to know how the Semester at Sea community can best support you in the foundation.
Thank you very much, Nancy. I think you've already read the mission of the foundation. And so with little words, I think what we want to do with the GodFreds Foundation is offer, the millions of children like me out there who wouldn't be so lucky to meet people like Barbara and Mike, the opportunity to also have an environment, have a platform where their potentials can be, developed and excel. So basically what we're striving to do is to give people like myself, Barbara and Mike can only do, few, but with our education and with our resources and communities like, Semester at Sea, we'll be able to reach more people where, they will be able to excel and use their potential to do something good. So in a nutshell, that's what our foundation is trying to achieve in rural villages in Ghana. Okay. And in terms of the name, so I think a piece of the story, I know Barbara was trying to be as short and concise as possible. Yeah. But a piece of, but when Barbara reached out to me on Facebook, one of the things that she said was she didn't want to just travel, she wanted to do something meaningful. And during that time, over the trips, I have actually identified this young man who was smart. Anytime that we will go there and visit their school, he will be the one answering all the questions very actively. And I've always had it on my heart to say, if one day I could help this somebody, he will be the first person. So when Barbara reached out to me on Facebook and said, she just doesn't want to go on a trip to a community, but do something meaningful, I suggested that, oh, there's a young guy that I've been meaning to help. So it would be lovely for you to meet him, when you're in Ghana. But as most of us already know, Semester at Sea spends at about 3 days. By then, now it's I think 4 to 5 days. But then it was we had only 3 days in the village, and our itinerary was so packed to the extent that we couldn't make the appointment to meet GodFred, which is the young guy that I'm referring to. So after everything turns out, and I intended to be the original, the GodFred, and had the opportunity, I spoke to Barbara and Mike about it, and we went back and made sure that GodFred also got a better school and got the opportunity that he needed. But we know that, just the three of us, is very limited on how many children out there that we can take out of their home, out of their communities, and give them the quality of education that we wanted. But we wanted to use myself and GodFred as an example and say, how do we create a system where we don't need to probably adapt and be taking people from their communities, but rather take the quality and platform to their community so that they can excel. So the name GodFred sort of represent this young man called GodFred, who has proven, to all of us that with a better platform and education, I guess the sky is the limit. So it actually goes beyond me when we talk about the GodFreds Foundation story.
Wonderful. Okay, and how best could the Semester at Sea community support the GodFreds Foundation and the three of you in moving forward?
Yeah. So I think over the years, we've had a lot of Semester at Sea students and faculties even return and physically being present there and supporting the school either through volunteering or any form of that, which has been very, very appreciated. We've also had support in financial support. As Mike said, our nonprofit is registered 501c3 as well, where people can support us. We have various projects going on after COVID. Our classroom, as you saw, Nancy, keep on growing. And the model of the school is for us to add one classroom every year, right, as the kids progress. And at the moment, we are just about going into September, where we'll be, our grade 6 will be moving to junior high, which is grade 7 in Ghana, right, and in the US. So we are sort of raising fund again to build their next classroom. So again, financial support will also be warmly welcome and appreciated, of course.
Okay. I'm going to skip over to Mike because I just wonder when Barb contacted you and said, I want to help, or we have a financial project here. What did you think, having never met Fred? What was your first reaction? And then also part B is, what was your first reaction when you arrived in Ghana, whenever that was?
Yeah. Well, I remember thinking, you knew Barb was going to find something, so this is all on you to some degree. Yeah, it's like, so Barb, we couldn't just
We finished
give him a
paper.
nice we couldn't figure out some other way. It's got to be a college education and in the UK. And so it's not the 5 steps of grief really, because it was a great thing, but there were steps there, right? The kind of denial. Oh, he probably won't get accepted. Oh, now I know Fred, so that was a non-starter. Fred's going to get accepted. got the scholarship. Just, yeah, no, it was crazy. I'll never forget the call somewhere between Ghana and Morocco. And, but then you kind of start wrapping your head around it. And I think I had written my last tuition check for our youngest son within
Like days or hours.
I mean, it was really, really close because he graduated that May. So, yeah. Anyway, so it took a little sort of following through, and there were funny stories in the interim, because to get his UK visa, he had to have a substantial amount of money already in his bank account to prove that he could live and support himself. And so we were, working through this and communicated with another parents' council member who had experience, I think, with students in Africa. And I'll never forget, I believe her email said, "Do not send money to."
Okay.
So here it is. I mean, I haven't met Fred yet, and I don't forget the exact amount, but it was not insignificant. And I also remember thinking that, well, if he runs away with it, I'm probably going to come out of this better off, because that's the end of it. There's not going to be another semester or coming to San Diego or going to Jamaica or going to San Francisco, or the list could go on. So, but yeah, it's not how much money you have, it's what you do with it. And so this, it's been a great thing. But right, initially it took some getting used to, shall we say, and then it became, all right, we're going to make this happen. And how are we going to make this happen? And here we are.
Yeah.
When you got to go.
And then how about your impressions of
So
Ghana?
as far as Ghana, right, I mean, Barb had given me, a lot of background, and she kind of, explained. And so I think even things after I came, compared to when she was there, were a little more comfortable for us, showering from a bucket. I mean, just, you see, I guess for me, I expected to see maybe even more severe poverty than what I saw. She described India to me as being truly hopeless. Never been to India, but my impression was people had a purpose. There was an order. People were going to school, they were going to market, they were going to farm, they were happy, friendly. Early in the morning as we're walking to school, the girls or women typically were out sweeping the dirt surrounding their homes. And so I was just really very impressed. And again, warm people, happy, cheerful, happy to see us, wanting, it was just a wonderful experience that they get to know our names, and we'd interact with them, try to learn a little Twi, and they'd love to hear me speak in Twi. So really it was a great experience, and we've been back, as Barb says, 7 or 8 times. And one of the worst things for COVID, of course, is that the last time we could go was November 19. So we missed the 5-year anniversary of the school. So we get back and reacquaint with our students and see Fred's family again, who we stay with when we go. But it was a great experience. Yeah.
Yeah. Good. Thank you. Okay, Fred, you mentioned a little bit about volunteers. So do you get volunteers from outside of the country of Ghana? And if so, how do you recruit them? And maybe as important for this group of listeners is, if someone from Semester at Sea alumni wanted to volunteer, how would they apply, or how would they go about doing that?
Thank you, Nancy. So yes, we do have long-term volunteers. Unfortunately, before COVID, we actually had 2 volunteers who were there for a year, and one even over a year, right? And I'm glad you even asked about long-term volunteer, because it really helps when people are able to stay, or their schedule is able to allow them to stay longer, build more sort of relationship with the children, get to understand the culture better, and contribute in a more significant way to the school, the community, and also in terms of emotionally even to the children. So yes, we do. And we have actually made provisions where we have built a house right next to the school. Yes, for our volunteers to stay. And basically it is probably 100 meters walk to the school. So that sort of had made things easy. We also offer the opportunity for volunteers to also stay with families and really be able to immerse in the culture and, stay with a parent from the school, actually, so all those sort of facilities are around. In terms of recruitment, it has in the past been from friends and family of semester at sea, from my college. And as Barbara mentioned, I also have a travel company. So we do some sort of education travels and, be able to expose people to what we are doing in the rural villages. But in a nutshell, it's just being friends and family connections from semester at sea. I think semester at sea have been going to the school for the past, 4.5 years. That means about 8 times we've been taking about 30 students to the school. So that has generated a vast sort of community, SARS within SARS, as I like to call it,
Yes.
Yes, and that goes a long way of people returning with their family or just by themselves to spend a significant amount of time at the school.
Okay. Let me just interject here a minute that the name of the school, if I pronounce it correctly, is Samancha American School, which if you notice is SAS. So that's SAS and SAS is a nice connection. So I just wanted to put that out there for people who are listening and might not know that.
Nancy, do you know the meaning of it in Chui?
Yes. What if I had never met you? Which
Yes.
I love that. Yeah. Okay. I have another question. Having been there at the school in spring of 19 and being so impressed with the supplies, the educational materials, the posters on the wall, the colorfulness, it was just an engaging educational environment, and made them more so for me because Fred took us to one of the public schools that I think, Barbara, is what your experience was way back. And there was none of that. I mean, there aren't even lights. It's like natural sunlight and that's it. No books and an old kind of green chalkboard. So one of my questions is, how do you get your supplies and your books? And part B of that, maybe to Mike, but to anyone, is how do you get your donations or how do you fund those beautiful books and school supplies?
Well,
I can start just with the beginning of how it was done. So believe it or not, this whole foundation started with a garage sale.
Okay.
It bought our very first plot of land. But as far as the supplies go, we were so fortunate that we had an entire kindergarten classroom. We had we live right next to an elementary school and all of our children attended it. And somehow in that, first grade, I'm sorry, Barb let this teacher know that, we were starting a school and she donated her entire classroom to us, including her wonderful treasure box that the kids still use on Friday to get their awards if they've been selected as star pupil. So initially it was shipping everything. Barb went to school supply stores and
ordered like crazy on Amazon,
and with only 3 classrooms, it was more manageable. And we took, when we visit, we would take suitcases and pay extra. And, so originally it was donated supplies primarily and a long time. And so I'll let somebody else kind of pick up from there. Now that we have so many classrooms, the model's changed a bit now.
Yeah, go right now. Yeah, because we've stopped doing our big shipments. I think our younger grades are pretty well supplied with materials, although every now and then we do need to,
refresh.
Yeah, when things get, old.
And I think,
especially nursery, probably.
Yeah.
And I think we've also done a good job with, connecting with volunteers that are coming in to bring more supplies as well. We have teacher trainers that come to the school to train our teachers because all our teachers are from the community, and basically when they are coming, they do bring supplies that we need. We are also leaning at the moment towards the local materials as well as our, mission statement says, like incorporating the tradition and the mandatory curriculum as well. So it is good to sort of have the blend, have stories like, what is it? Fred, what is your story, Nancy?
Gingerbread Fred.
Gingerbread. I know there's bread and Fred. There's the Fred who likes ginger anyway and bread. So, right. So having a blend of that, sort of gave our students a lot of exposure into what kids in the US and in other parts of the world are reading. Not also forgetting what they should know related to things around them and in their community. So at the moment, I would say it's 50-50 of the things that we're able to pull into the country initially, which we are still making good use of, versus what we are identifying locally to sort of complement with and have that blend of culture.
Okay. And donations?
Yeah. And I mean, Mike, do you want to speak on donations?
Well, I think at some point we found that the cost of shipping just and the time involved and it not being 100% reliable that everything will get where it needs to go. I mean, we've had really good success overall, but lately more trouble and there's just so much need now. I mean, there are things that are hard. I would say things that can't be sourced in Ghana. There are different things. I mean, we sent in initially wooden puzzles, which were amazing. The manipulatives, which again, I don't know are nearly as available in Ghana. So those things tend to last a relatively long time. So those are still being used. But we had schools giving us textbooks that they couldn't use anymore because they were going to the next, a different system, or they couldn't use them after the time. So all of that worked really well. But now as the school's gotten so much bigger, it does need to be a bit more targeted. I think we always ask, number one is, can we find it in Ghana? Number one, because Fred's in Accra, so he's in touch there with School Supply and other international schools and can see where maybe those get sourced. So you have to be a bit creative and right. If things are a little bit smaller, volunteers can bring things that are of great need, but definitely the trend has been more towards trying to source things locally. And so funds, just basically donations of money really is probably best because that's easily wired into the account there in Ghana. And
even if we ship, it's, we, purchase things here.
That
I mean,
still
it takes
happens,
about 3 months, to get there. And sometimes longer, you can't be totally sure. So that's, just, we have to plan ahead if we're doing that.
Okay, great. Thank you. And then Fred, you mentioned a little bit, well, we've all mentioned a little bit about COVID, but how has that impacted the school and the teaching in this last year and a half?
Wow. I think we are all aware of how COVID has impacted, the entire world, and especially education, because, a lot of things we've lost, we can get back. But again, our kids and kids in general everywhere have lost a year of their life, and that gap, where they are never going to get back. But in the context of, just to give a bit of context, our schools in Ghana were shut down, I think in early March, where the government called for close of schools. So basically the entire 8 months, schools were closed. Our children had to, go back home, and it was an experience. I mean, parents were calling, kids were calling, kids were crying to come to school. We tried to do as much as we can as a school, where we turned. Nancy, you've been to the school, so I'm going to be a bit descriptive, but our nursery block, which is like a very huge hall, we actually converted it into a library. so that kids can come with their parents and pick books and go home. So our IT teacher, Eric, was in charge of that. And we make sure we had all the protocols in place where kids can come in, sign, get a book, take home, and then they bring it back. We also, as a school, started doing radio learning. So I know most developed countries were doing things around, online learning, but in the kind of environment where we operate, internet is, is something kids cannot get their hands on very easily. So what we did was rather go to the radio and broadcast lessons, in the evening, where parents are back from work and kids have finished dinner and can really learn and call back in and ask questions and so on. So I think that was a very huge step and dedication from our teachers and staff, where they all showed commitment. We'll come to school and plan their lesson notes, get it recorded, and then we'll go to the radio station where it will be played, and we'll also be available for questions and answers and so on. As of the impact, there is a before and after. I mean, it was very hard on our teachers, being at home and school not being operational. But when school reopened, we realized that our kids were lagging behind. They've stayed at home too long, and all the hard work that we've put into it, right? So we're still trying to close that gap. Kids have picked up attitudes at home that, when they were at school at all times. Our structures, our behavior management tools. I mean, we really needed to rethink and strategize on how to get our kids back into the learning mindset. And one thing I can say about our kids is they enjoy being at school. And I think that's an environment that we've created, and it's always gonna sort of break through every barrier, because when kids love something, it's easy for them to do it, and learn. So they've always wanted to be at school, and when school was open, it was just a joy to see how much they've grown and how excited they are to come back. Baba,
Nice.
and Mike, I don't mean to tease you, but I mean, it was just a joy.
We'll get there. We'll get there soon.
Yeah. Well, I have to say, when I was there, you could feel the joy that all of those students and the teachers, I mean, it seemed like everyone was happy to be there. Okay, so I have another question again for all of you, but maybe, we'll start with Fred, and you guys please jump in. So when I was there in spring 19, there was construction going on, and you kind of referred to where, the ongoing growth. So I think it was 5th grade classroom that was being built when I was there. And so it sounds like building has continued even with COVID and all of that. So is the plan to build all the way to and through high school? What is the vision for expanding? And is there room? Do you have the land essentially to be able to do that?
Yeah. I think, when people ask me, like, where do you guys want to go? Like, are you doing high school? Are you doing university? What I tend to think is, I mean, I think we wanna be problem solvers, right? We found a problem and we wanted to solve it, which is quality education at the elementary level. And if you had asked me this question 5 years ago, I would have told you that no, we weren't gonna do high school, right? Okay. But for the past few years, high school in Ghana has become free, and therefore has really compromised the quality of high school in Ghana. It is such a big topic at the moment, as I'm speaking to you. And therefore, knowing myself and knowing Barbara and Mike, once there's a problem, So, and I know our parents have been asking that, if you train our kids and you drop them in a typical Ghanaian high school, they are not going to survive, and that still rings in my head. But I'm like, if the quality is good, that's what I think about most. And at the moment, is something that I think is worth thinking about and considering. In terms of land, we have a vast land that we could actually go up to university. The chief and the community of Senasi have been very supportive and encouraging, giving us land to expand and grow. So that is not an issue. I think the biggest challenge is probably going to be finance to be able to build that, because the way we've planned is to be able to use the foundation to build infrastructures, but the school charges a small fee to be able to maintain the day-to-day operations of the school, while the foundation sort of supports with infrastructures. So I think that is my version of where we want to go next. It is not very clear, but we definitely know that we have 3 more classrooms to go. So last time that you were there, which is 2019, we were building grade 5, and now that is completed, and we've actually added another class, which is grade 6. But 7, 8, and 9, before they go to high school, is what we are working towards, and probably raising funds to build that by the end of September. So that is sort of our priority now. I think once we have that, we can then take a step back and say, do we give ourselves a breathing room and then strategize for high school, maybe next 2 years, next 3 years? But I think now our priority is to get a 3 classroom, because without that, it has always been such a big burden on us, knowing that every year we have to add a classroom, so yeah. Bob and Mike, I know the burden has laid on you guys for so many years, so I'll let you guys also express your view on this.
Yeah.
Well, we are incredibly lucky. People who, I'm just amazed. I have what we call the money wall in my office. And this was, of course, another inspiration from the Inspirer. Because I'm not one to talk much about stuff other than
Personal stuff,
income taxes. They see my pictures around. There's the usual conversation surrounding family. So she convinced me that I should put on one of my walls pictures of the children and of the school, and it's been unbelievable. I mean, and I suppose you go to an accountant's office and you don't necessarily expect 10 Ghanaian faces smiling at you.
Yeah.
And a huge map of Africa.
Right. This beautiful print that Fred brought Barb and me early on. And it's just a beautiful tapestry of Africa with different
fabrics.
Just spectacular. It's always been a conversation piece. So anyway, clients notice this and they just want to hear the story. So of course I'm running behind all the time now because I've got to spend my time telling this story that we haven't even been able to finish in whatever time we have. But anyway, so a combination of Facebook fundraisers for Barbara's birthday, the Day of Giving is always a big one for us. And then, clients, maybe, I'd say 10 to 20 that are just generous and super involved, and they just always ask. So,
and then some semester at sea. Folks who have gone and committed to, helping us to continue to build.
Or a family foundation that is connected through Semester at Sea and, maybe encouraged to do a large donation. Again, the 501c3 designation is huge for that kind of thing. So, we've, and then during COVID, we were kind of just doing, raising, continuing to raise, even though we weren't spending at that point because the building couldn't go on. So I think we're ready to be able to move forward and at least get a start on these 3 classrooms. It'll maybe just be the ground floor that we can finish, and then we'll have to build the structure where the other classes will go, even though we can't finish them. But the money wall has been huge. I wish everyone could come into my office and see, and they always comment about how happy the students look.
Yeah.
And they are, as you know, Nancy, from having been there.
Yeah. It's true. Very true. Okay. Now that brings me to a little sidebar. I just want to put out there for people who are listening, the future thought of a Semester at Sea scholarship for a graduate of Samancha American School. It's in the future, but I think our GodFred would be a, prime example of success. So for all of you SAS alumni, be thinking about that. Okay, let's move on. Let's see, Barb and Mike, what inspires you? I think we've kind of heard it, but what inspires you to continue your involvement with Semester at Sea and inspires your involvement with GodFreds and Fred and Ghana?
Well, with Semester at Sea, I just think that the mission of the program is just so huge. I wish everybody, could experience it. I think our world would be different. You see different how people live. And then you find ways that you can contribute, like, we found, like Art says, find what you can do, a little bit of good here and there and put it all together. And it's a wonderful thing. The kids and the teachers at the school just inspire me, which, we really miss not being there. But that guy right there on the screen is, one of my greatest inspirations. He just, I just had this feeling about him, and I'm glad I was right.
Yes.
Yes, you were right. No doubt about it. Yeah, if this is mainly Semester at Sea alumni who are watching, I would just say, wow, you are a part of an amazing community. I mean, look at what Semester at Sea basically, this is all Semester at Sea. This story runs, Fred met some Semester at Sea students when he was just selling phones, and he showed them around, and they encouraged him to form a tour company, which then took Barbara on a homestay tour, and then she was inspired, and now there's a school and other students have come, Semester at Sea students who have also become inspired, and it's all Semester at Sea because it provides this opportunity that really isn't like any other study abroad program. If you go to one country, there's advantages there, but to give in 12 or 13 countries, just exposure, just meetings, seeing how families live. It may not be everyone that inspires. It may only be one. It may not even be that voyage, but it might say, you know what, I want to go back to that country after I'm working. I want to go to Vietnam because that just inspired me for whatever reason. So I think it's what makes Semester at Sea amazing and should make all of us feel good who are connected with this program is what it can do. What it can do. And so support Semester at Sea however you can, whether that's supporting the program, whether that's telling other people about it, volunteering for one of the committees. The Alumni Association was how basically I remember, should we apply? Because we're not really joiners per se. And we were approached to join the Parents Council. And I remember really thinking,
I left it to him. I'm like, okay, well,
I'm not sure. And there you go. So maybe just if you're one of those like me, maybe slightly more on the introverted side, or just, I'll just keep doing what I'm doing. Jump out there. Semester at Sea will give you all the opportunities to do it. But I'm just so thankful. The people that we've met through the program are all just amazing individuals who want to make the world a better place.
Yeah, I would second that for sure.
Yeah.
Okay. Is there anything else that any of the three of you want to, that was pretty amazing, but anything more you want to add either about the future of the foundation, or I think, is it a 23 voyage when Semester at Sea will be coming back to Ghana? I don't think there's
Yeah.
a 22 voyage. Okay. Well, so people be looking for that. Sign up. But again, what else are there other comments, things that you want people to know about the foundation or about the school?
I think you did mention something about the future of the foundation, and I think I considered myself lucky, and hence, the inspiration for this school in my community. And now I feel like my community has also been fortunate, but there are thousands of communities, right, in rural villages in Ghana that doesn't have a school like what we do, right? So we just hoping and praying that our model could be sustainable enough for us and tested for us to be able to replicate it to other rural villages, both north, south, west, and east of Ghana, so that kids out there could also benefit from quality education and better environment, which I think every kid deserves. So I think that's the last piece that I wanted to add.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, all three of you, Barb, Mike, and Fred, for spending this time with us and sharing about your fantastic foundation and a fabulous school. I really appreciate you taking the time to share. So I also would like to say, as you consider giving back to organizations that are important to you, I'd like to remind you that Semester at Sea is a 501(c) nonprofit organization, and we need your support now more than ever. And also important to realize that gifts of any size really do help. So also join us next Wednesday at 5 o'clock Mountain Time for our next Wavelengths installment. We'll be featuring, and I hope I don't butcher these names, I'm gonna try, Riva Kadia, Lizzie Mafrici, and Tegan Conroy, who are the co-founders of the Samantra Project, which is a sustainable venture to alleviate period poverty inspired by the GodFreds Foundation. So a very nice tie-in there. And if you or someone you know from your voyage has an interesting story to share about how Semester at Sea has influenced your life or your career path, please email wavelengths@semesteratsea.org to be considered for a future Wavelengths segment. Or if you're looking for other ways to get involved as an alum, or you're inspired by tonight's program about hearing of stories of hope, check out our new Storyteller series, where alumni of any age can share their life-changing journey on various social media platforms. We will drop a link in the comments below where you can sign up. Thank you, everyone. Stay healthy.
Thank you, Nancy.
Good
Thank
evening.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.